Will Hernandez to the Chiefs? A tank may be heading to Kansas City. The NFL rumor mill is on fire, and at the center of it is a name that's sending shockwaves through the league, Will Hernandez's. Sources say the Kansas City Chiefs are eyeing the ultra-powerful offensive guard, and fans are losing their minds at the thought. Why? Because Hernandez is a straight-up bulldozer. This man doesn't just block defenders, he erases them. Defensive linemen bounce off him like crash dummies. Pass rushers disappear into the turf, and run lanes? He opens them like a wrecking ball smashing through a brick wall. Imagine pairing that kind of brute strength with Andy Reid's offensive genius and Patrick Mahomes' playmaking magic. We're talking about a complete fortress in the trenches. And if this deal goes through, the Chiefs might not just protect Mahomes, they might become completely unstoppable. Chiefs Kingdom, get ready. A tank might be rolling into Arrowhead, and his name is Will Hernandez. As the Chiefs front office huddles behind closed doors, orchestrating their next strategic masterstroke in the high-stakes chess match of NFL supremacy, every detail matters. From the blown coverages that haunted last season's heartbreaking finale to collapsing pockets around Patrick Mahomes, these are not just game day mishaps, but harsh reminders. Perfection is a pursuit, not a promise in the NFL. As dominoes tumble across the league, retirements reshaping rosters, franchise tags anchoring foundational players, and mock drafts fueling anticipation, the Chiefs find themselves at a critical juncture. Will their latest maneuvers erect an unbreakable fortress around Mahomes and his arsenal, or will unseen vulnerabilities once again derail their championship dreams? But before we dive into the moves that could propel Kansas City back to the summit, do me a quick favor. If you find our content insightful and valuable, please give us a like. It's a small gesture that fuels our growth. You all are the reason we do this. Now let's get into it. The Kansas City Chiefs entered the 2024 season with Super Bowl aspirations, only to have their secondary repeatedly exposed in coverage. In response, the front office acted with urgency and precision this offseason to reinforce their cornerback core. First, they signed former Tennessee Titans standout Christian Fulton, a corner renowned for his lockdown coverage and physicality. Then they invested draft capital into Noel Williams, a refined prospect out of the University of California, celebrated for his smooth footwork and tackling prowess. Finally, they brought in seasoned depth with Robert Rochelle, expecting his experience to bring stability to the secondary. Yet, in a surprising twist, Rochelle was released before organized team activities had barely begun. At just 27 years old, the journeyman suddenly re-entered free agency, but this unexpected exit may have serendipitously opened new doors. Enter the Houston Texans. When longtime corner Ronald Darby sent shockwaves through the league with a sudden retirement, Houston's 90-man camp roster was left with a vacancy. Rochelle Walbett, with his blend of special teams versatility and occasional defensive snaps, could be a compelling addition to a Texans secondary in search of reinforcements. Before his brief Chiefs stint, Rochelle spent time with the Green Bay Packers, carving out a niche role on special teams without registering a defensive snap. Prior to that, he suited up for the Los Angeles Rams, where in 2021 he logged his most substantial action, 32% of defensive snaps, 14 tackles, 4 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception, all contributing to a respectable 60.7 coverage grade via Pro Football Focus. If Houston extends an invite to Rochelle for OTAs and training camp, Chiefs fans need not stress about the Week 14 showdown in 2025. If Rochelle lines up opposite Kansas City, it'll likely be due to Houston's starters being unavailable. Still, the ripple effect of Darby's retirement has only intensified the anticipation for this high-stakes AFC clash. Now let's talk trenches, specifically protecting the face of the franchise, Patrick Mahomes. No priority loomed larger this offseason than fortifying the offensive line, especially after Mahomes endured the highest sack total of his career during a campaign that ended in a Super Bowl defeat. The front office wasted no time. To avoid losing one of their premier linemen, the Chiefs slapped the franchise tag on veteran guard Trey Smith. Smith, who didn't allow a single sack last season and earned his first Pro Bowl nod, will earn $23,400,000 under the tag, making him the 4th highest paid player on the roster. That number reflects just how pivotal he is to Kansas City's offensive rhythm and Mahomes' longevity. Smith's reliability speaks volumes. He ranked 4th in total snaps played at right guard in 2024 and is suited up for a full 17-game schedule in 3 of his 4 NFL seasons. Those credentials secure his place among the NFL's elite interior linemen and fully validate the team's decision to retain him. The focus now shifts toward locking in a long-term extension. According to SpotTrack, Smith's projected market value sits at $78,800,000 over 4 years, averaging $19,700,000 annually. Slightly below this season's tag value, but still elite for his position. When compared to top-tier peers like Landon Dickerson, Eagles, $21.50. MAAV Quentin Nelson, $20.00. MAAV. It's clear that Smith remains in the upper echelon of NFL guards. But with a wave of young stars and key contributors due for contract renewals in the coming seasons, Kansas City's front office must wield the salary cap with surgical precision. Securing Smith at a smart rate will be a cornerstone in preserving the team's championship foundation. Under the strategic command of defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs' defense has remained a consistent powerhouse, routinely ranking among the NFL's elite. Spagnuolo's aggressive, gap-penetrating scheme is tailor-made to amplify each player's skill set, producing top 10 finishes in both scoring defense and total yards allowed. But even greatness demands evolution. Kansas City's front office understands this truth. Sustained dominance requires not only maintaining core talent, but constantly replenishing it through savvy draft investments and well-timed contract extensions. The Bolton vs. Reed dilemma last offseason, the franchise faced a pivotal crossroads: extend linebacker Nick Bolton or safety Justin Reed. In the end, they doubled down on Bolton, another data point in a long-running trend of shrewd roster management. But this conversation is far from over. As both players approach contract eligibility again next year, the debate will reignite with even more intensity. Edge rusher George Karlaftis has emerged as the next extension candidate, while Kansas City's recent haul of defensive talent in the 2025 NFL Draft underscores their commitment to continuity and future dominance, and Super Bowl scars, lessons in exposure still. February's Super Bowl left visible scars. The Philadelphia Eagles' turbocharged offense exposed defensive vulnerabilities and capitalized on poor field position generated by Kansas City's offensive lapses, leaving Spagnuolo's unit under relentless siege. CBS Sports analyst Ryan Wilson recently projected a response in his early 2026 mock draft, with Kansas City selecting Sun Perkins, a dynamic linebacker from the University of Mississippi. Wilson lauded Perkins' raw explosiveness, advanced hand technique, and rare ability to win inside despite a smaller frame. Perkins posted an eye-catching 2024 stat line: 60 total tackles, 10.5 sacks, 1 interception, a massive leap from his rookie year, signaling a sharp upward trajectory. With his violent bursts and relentless motor, he could seamlessly integrate into Spagnuolo's scheme and become a disruptive force off the edge. Trench warfare, offensive line still in flux despite measurable progress along the offensive front with acquisitions like Jalen Moore, Josh Simmons, and T-Main Ankrum. Kansas City's line remains an unfinished puzzle. Buckle up, Chiefs Kingdom, because what I'm about to reveal is going to send shockwaves through the entire NFL. Kansas City just made a move so seismic, it's got every other franchise scrambling. This is not a drill. If you bleed red and gold, don't you dare scroll past this without watching to the very end. Smash that like button, drop a W in the comments if you're still riding with our Chiefs, or an L if you've lost the faith, and hit that subscribe button, because what we're about to break down could change the entire landscape of the league. Let me make this clear. What's happening in Kansas City right now isn't just a shift. It's a full-blown football revolution. The sleeping giant is awakening, and when it does, it's going to rock every locker room from coast to coast. See, while analysts were busy nitpicking and doubting the Chiefs' offense last season, while the media questioned whether Patrick Mahomes had lost his magic, what they failed to realize is this: the Chiefs were playing with one hand tied behind their back. That's right, they were missing their 2 most explosive weapons for the majority of the season, Marquise Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice. These weren't just any receivers, they were the blueprint for a new era in KC's aerial assault. Set to take the offense back to peak Tyreek Hill level dominance, but instead of fireworks, we got silence. Just 4 combined games of action from Brown and Rice. Imagine removing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins from the Bengals for a full season. Or CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks from the Cowboys. That's what Kansas City endured and still made a Super Bowl run. But here's where it gets spine-tingling. While the NFL was prematurely writing the Chiefs' obituary, something extraordinary was happening behind the curtain. These guys didn't sulk, they grinded, they trained, they prepared to return with vengeance. Rashee Rice, on a mission. Reports out of camp say he looks faster, sharper, and more dialed in than ever before. That hunger you only get from being counted out, he's got it. Hollywood Brown, torch mode. He's been lighting up minicamp, burning DBs, turning slants into 6 points, and looking every bit like the deep threat assassin the Chiefs envisioned. He's healthy, focused, and ready to remind the league who he is. And then there's the quiet storm, Xavier Worthy. A breakout late in his rookie campaign, this kid's rise has been electric. With elite raw talent, relentless work ethic, and growing chemistry with Mahomes, he's quickly becoming the X factor no one saw coming. Now combine all 3, Rice, precise route runner with glue hands Brown, explosive vertical threat who forces safeties to sweat, Worthy, ascending star with limitless upside. You've got a WR trio that can attack from every angle, a 3-headed monster built to annihilate any defense, and it's not just hype. Former Chiefs wideout Garrick Dieter recently declared on social media, hard to name a better WR trio right now than what the Chiefs have. The dynasty isn't dying, it's evolving. So to every defensive coordinator in the NFL, you better study the tape, say a prayer, and brace yourself. Because the Kansas City Chiefs are about to unleash an onslaught that'll make 2018 look like a warm-up. When a former player, someone who's lived inside the system, breathed the culture, and earned his stripes, makes a statement like that, you better believe it's coming from a place of authentic insight. But here's what elevates this moment into something truly electrifying. We're not just talking about a top-tier trio of receivers. Oh no. This depth chart runs dangerously deep. Enter Juju Smith-Schuster, a battle-tested veteran with championship DNA and an undeniable clutch gene. Add to that Jalen Royals, a stealth weapon quietly sharpening his game behind the scenes, and of course, you cannot forget Travis Kelce, the ageless maestro of tight end excellence, arguably the greatest to ever play the position. What Kansas City has built is more than a receiving core. It's an arsenal of offensive versatility, an embarrassment of riches most teams can only fantasize about. Most franchises would kill to have one of these playmakers as their WR1. The Chiefs have 5, maybe 6, who could easily be the focal point on any other roster. That's not luck. That's elite roster construction, the kind that builds dynasties. Now let's talk about Mahomes. This is where the real fireworks begin. You're talking about a generational quarterback, a 2-time Super Bowl champion and multiple-time MVP who has already carved his name into the stone of greatness. But imagine what happens when you surround that level of talent with this kind of weaponry. Let's be honest. Mahomes spent the majority of last season pulling off miracles with receivers who, through no fault of their own, were being forced into roles they weren't built for due to injuries across the board. And yet, he still kept this team in the fight. He still willed the offense forward. He still found a way to win. But now we're entering a completely different reality, one where Mahomes isn't scrambling to compensate, but instead commanding a fully loaded offensive juggernaut. He's got precision route runners, elite vertical threats, and young, explosive talent at every tier of the field. OC Matt Nagy has already declared that the Chiefs are bringing back the deep ball in 2025, and now we understand why. Brown stretches the field with breakaway speed. Rice slices up zones with clinical precision. Worthy breaks ankles after the catch and turns routine plays into highlight reels. But here's where it gets truly fascinating, and I need y'all to lock in because this is critical to understanding the gravity of this pick. Josh Simmons wasn't supposed to be on the board at pick 32. Hell, most draft experts graded him as a top 10 talent. Some even put him in the top 5. So what went wrong? How did a player with that kind of pedigree slip all the way to the tail end of the first round? The answer is one word that strikes terror into the hearts of general managers, coaches, and fans alike: injuries. Evaluating talent in the NFL isn't just about what a player can do when they're healthy. It's about projecting what they can contribute over the course of a grueling, punishing NFL career. And when you're a championship-caliber team like Kansas City, every detail counts. Simmons had been battling injury concerns that caused scouts and front offices to pause, questions that didn't necessarily take him off the board, but certainly forced teams to weigh the risk against the potential reward. And that's exactly the kind of high-stakes calculus that separates championship organizations from perennial underachievers. Now let's talk about Kansas City's specific situation, because context in the NFL is everything. The Chiefs have faced questions along their offensive line, particularly at the, listen up, Chiefs Kingdom. Y'all think you know what's next for your beloved red and gold? Think again. This franchise just pulled a move that sent shockwaves through the entire NFL landscape, and I'm here to unpack exactly why this decision could propel Kansas City into an unstoppable dynasty or leave them vulnerable to a dramatic fall. Don't you dare scroll past this. Watch every second of this breakdown, smash that like button, drop a W in the comments if you believe in the Chiefs, or an L if you've lost faith, and hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to reveal will forever transform how you see this team's future. Now let's dive deep into the heart of the matter. When you've got a generational quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, the literal engine that powers your entire offense, protecting his blind side is absolutely paramount. We're not just talking about keeping him on his feet, we're talking about giving him the time and pocket space to make those jaw-dropping highlight reel plays that have made him the face of the entire league. The left tackle position in the NFL is akin to being the Secret Service for the president. One slip up and the whole operation unravels. It's a role that demands a rare blend of size, athleticism, technique, and ironclad mental toughness. You're facing off against some of the most ferocious pass rushers on the planet, guys who've been honing their craft since childhood, and your singular mission is to ensure they don't get anywhere near your quarterback. What makes this pick even more compelling is how it aligns with Kansas City's long-term blueprint. This isn't just about patching a hole for the 2025 season. This is about laying the foundation for sustained excellence over the next 5 to 10 years. When you draft an offensive tackle in the first round, you're not just selecting a player, you're securing a franchise cornerstone, someone you can build your offensive identity around for years to come. But here's where the stakes get even higher, and why I'm so fired up about this situation. The success rate for offensive tackles drafted in this range tells a story, one every Chiefs fan needs to grasp. We're not talking about randomly tossing darts and hoping for the best. We're talking about a meticulous risk-reward calculation based on historical data and performance patterns. Analyzing the last decade's drafts, offensive tackles selected between picks 21 and 37 have boasted a success rate of roughly 67%. That might not sound earth-shattering on its own, but when you compare it to the overall first-round success rate, which hovers around 50-55%, you start to see why this range has become a goldmine for unearthing quality starters. What's even more impressive is the caliber of players that have emerged from this sweet spot. Guys like Ryan Ramczyk, who's become a linchpin for the New Orleans Saints, Christian Darrisaw, who's been anchoring protection for Kirk Cousins, and likely the future QB in Minnesota, and Tyler Smith, who's instantly solidified the Dallas Cowboys offensive front. These aren't just guys who managed to stick around the league. They're bona fide starters, second contract earners, and in some cases, Pro Bowl talents. That's the kind of hit rate that makes general managers sleep well at night, especially when you're talking about a position as vital as left tackle. But let's not sugarcoat this reality, Chiefs Kingdom. For every success story in this range, there's a cautionary tale. Players like Isaiah Wilson, who vanished from the league almost as fast as he entered it, or Andre Dillard, who never quite delivered on his first-round promise despite flashes of potential. The difference between a hit and a miss at this level often boils down to factors that go beyond raw talent. Things like work ethic, character, adaptability to the breakneck speed of the NFL, and, perhaps most crucially, the ability to stay healthy enough to develop and thrive. This is precisely where the injury concerns surrounding Josh Simmons enter the conversation. It's one thing to have the talent and the technique to play left tackle at the highest level. It's another thing entirely to do it consistently over a grueling 17-game regular season, plus a potential deep playoff run. The Chiefs' medical staff and front office obviously did their due diligence on Simmons' injury history. They brought him in for comprehensive evaluations, put him through rigorous medical testing, and likely consulted some of the most renowned orthopedic specialists in the country. The fact that they were comfortable investing a first-round pick in him signals that they believe the risk is manageable. But believing the risk is manageable and actually managing that risk are two entirely different challenges. This is where Kansas City's player development program and their track record with injury-prone players come into play. How effective have they been historically in handling players with similar medical red flags? How skilled is their training staff at keeping players healthy, game-ready, and on the field? These are the tough questions that don't always have clear answers, but they're absolutely pivotal in assessing whether this pick will help shape Kansas City's long-term success. Hollywood Brown has everything to prove. He's healthy, laser-focused, and ready to explode. Xavier Worthy? That man is starving to build on the buzz from the second half of his rookie year. You combine individual motivation with a shared hunger for another ring, you don't just get talent, you get relentless excellence. The timing is perfect. The Chiefs are coming off yet another Super Bowl run. The core of the roster is in its prime, and now this avalanche of offensive firepower is being reintegrated just as the rest of the league is struggling to keep pace. This is the rich getting richer. This is the king reclaiming the throne with reinforcements. Final word, Chiefs Kingdom. What we're witnessing isn't just a few stars coming back from injury. This is the evolution of an already championship caliber offense into something that could be historic. So let me ask you, are we looking at the most dangerous WR group in the NFL? Smash that like button if you believe the Chiefs are about to break the league. Drop a W in the comments if you're all in, and hit that subscribe button because we're going to cover every twist and turn of this run to another Lombardi. The Kansas City Chiefs aren't just back. They're better than ever. He concluded his debut season with 59 receptions, 638 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Not only did he statistically lead the Chiefs' receiving corps, but he also became Mahomes' go-to target when the stakes were highest. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like and subscribe to join one of the fastest-growing Chiefs communities on YouTube. Let's build something legendary together. Until next time, go Chiefs!